There once was a small bird, vibrant in color but fragile in form, who lived in a dense and ancient forest. This forest, with its towering trees and tangled undergrowth, offered both danger and delight. But for this bird, each day was a new struggle. He longed for freedom, for joy, for a life without suffering. Yet, no matter how high he soared or how melodiously he sang, he felt a weight inside, an ache that wouldn't leave. From the moment he first learned to fly, the little bird was taught by his elders to be wary. Danger lurked everywhere. The silent swoop of a hawk, the rustling of a snake in the grass, the chill of a sudden storm. The world, it seemed, was a place to survive, not to thrive. So the bird became cautious. Every decision, where to perch, when to sing, which seeds to eat, was governed by fear. He learned to expect hardship, and so hardship became his closest companion. One day, as the morning sun bathed the forest in golden light, the bird noticed a wise old owl perched quietly on a high branch. The owl, unlike the others, seemed peaceful, calm and still, as if untouched by the chaos of the woods. Curious, the bird fluttered upward and asked, "How do you remain so calm when the world is so full of suffering?" The owl turned his gentle eyes towards the bird and replied, "My friend, suffering is not always what happens to you, but how you choose to see it. The storms will come, the predators will hunt, and hunger will visit us all. Yet, suffering is not in the wind or the rain, but in the mind that resists them." The little bird pondered these words, but struggled to accept them. "But how can I not suffer when I am hungry, cold, or afraid?" The owl smiled softly. "Let me tell you a story about a bird, much like yourself. Long ago," the owl began, "a young bird lived in this very forest. He too was afraid. He spent his days worrying about the future, about storms that might come, about food that might not be found, about dangers that might lurk unseen. He was so busy worrying that he forgot to notice the beauty around him, the warmth of the sun, the fragrance of the flowers, the songs of his fellow birds. One day, a terrible storm swept through the forest, snapping branches and flooding nests. The bird, terrified and alone, found shelter beneath a wide, leafy fern. As the rain poured down, he realized there was nothing he could do but wait. The storm was beyond his control. In that moment, the bird stopped resisting. He let go of his fear and simply listened to the rain, feeling each drop as it landed around him. He noticed the rhythm of the storm, the freshness of the air, and the resilience of the fern that sheltered him. For the first time, he felt at peace, not because the storm had ended, but because he had ceased to fight against it inside himself. When the storm passed, the bird stepped out, soaked but unharmed. He understood then that suffering comes from our refusal to accept what is. Pain is real. Storms do come, but suffering is the story we tell ourselves about that pain. The owl looked at the little bird, his eyes kind and knowing. "You see, my friend, to stop suffering is not to escape pain, but to accept it, to embrace life as it is, with all its ups and downs." The little bird sat quietly, letting the owl's words settle in his heart. He realized that much of his suffering came from his constant struggle, his resistance to the things he could not control. He worried about tomorrow, regretted yesterday, and ignored the present moment. But what if, instead, he could simply be? notice the sun when it shone, to seek shelter when it rained, and to trust that he would find his way no matter what. The days passed, and the little bird began to change. He still faced challenges, storms, hunger, fear, but he met them with a new spirit. When hunger came, he searched for food without panic. When a storm approached, he found shelter and listened to the rain, remembering the owl's lesson. He stopped comparing himself to others, stopped wishing for a different life, and started living the one he had. He found that in letting go of his resistance, he discovered moments of deep joy, the taste of a ripe berry, the warmth of sunlight on his feathers, the beauty of dawn breaking through the trees. Even the hardships became bearable, because he no longer fought against them. He accepted that pain was part of life, but suffering was optional. Other birds began to notice the change in him. They saw how he faced life's challenges with calm and grace. They asked for his secret, and he would share the wisdom passed down from the owl. Accept what you cannot change, face what you can, and above all, be present, for life is happening now. The story of the little bird spread throughout the forest. He became a symbol, not of perfection or fearlessness, but of acceptance. He showed others that freedom from suffering is not found in changing the world, but in changing our relationship to it. So, what can we learn from the story of the bird? Life is unpredictable, full of both joy and pain. We will all face storms, losses, and fears, but suffering arises when we resist what is, when we wish for life to be different than it is. The path to freedom is not to escape pain, but to accept it, to live fully in each moment, and to trust that we are strong enough to meet whatever comes. All around us, like the little bird, we have the power to choose our response. We can worry about the future or dwell on the past, or we can open our hearts to the present. We can fight against life's storms, or we can find shelter and listen to the rain, learning from each experience. Remember, happiness is not the absence of hardship, but the presence of acceptance. When we let go of resistance and embrace life as it unfolds, we discover a peace that endures, even in the face of challenge. Let the story of the bird remind us all. Suffering is not our fate, but our choice. And in choosing acceptance, we set ourselves free. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like, comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more human stories that matter.